That's the staff that you're at. So we can't unlock it until you got to look at the tape. I had one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she has the same
Yeah.
emotion.
You go over like, I think it's school. It's Randolph.
Yeah, when they're exact, if you're waiting.
You know, Westmore and down.
Yeah.
And they just bus. You use like that, just go.
The new Ford Docs is great. When they're halfway. If you play.
Oh. Yeah.
For her to go to tutorial tonight.
No.
She'll walk you through. Got you gotta do tonight. There's my main about shouldn't.
The thing with that is you can't go any other direction, but leaving town, when you're leaving town, it's still have a stop sign. Then like just backs up traffic. It's a mess. Yeah, they don't.
Yeah.
It's ready.
Okay, we'll call this meeting to order, regularly scheduled school board meeting for April 14th, 2025.
And before we start, if you guys don't mind, if we could take just a moment of silence for the CCCHS student intern, Brian Brenner passed away last week. And just, if you so feel, say a prayer for his family in this trying time.
Thank you. Okay, first off is approval of the agenda. I've got a motion here with this, just for a couple of things is. So I make a motion, we approve the agenda with the addition of an executive session for non-personnel. And also moving the semi-annual fundraising approvals from consent agenda to discussion item G.
Second,
Second, all those in favor? The agenda is approved. 7-0. This pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks for all the guests being here tonight and showing an interest in the school district. And also those watching on the video. Communications. See. Oh, recognition, yeah, yeah. Winner of the state medalist recognition. With that.
Mr. English.
Yeah, Coach McGorsh, has JV golf today, so he wasn't sure if he was gonna be here, so I get the honor of, talking about our wrestlers. But, the whole coaching staff's just been super proud of the effort of our kids this year. It's been great. Got sophomore thing Fitzmeyer. He placed sixth at 113 pounds, and this is his second state medal. Which is great. We also had senior Hayden Calavoda place sixth at 126 pounds, and also his second state medal. Then Gabby Coppas capped off a truly historic wrestling career with us. State champion again this year at 125 pounds. She's four-time undefeated state champion, record of 126-0. She's the first female in the state of Kansas to go through her entire career and without a loss, and the third wrestler ever in the state of Kansas. So still just a super career, super proud of her. Couple of other things, our boys team, we had 3 state qualifiers. Our girls team had 6. Really coming along. And something we're equally as proud of, if not more, that both our boys and girls teams were Kansas Wrestling Coaches Association first team all academic. We're really proud of our kids' effort. Good job.
Congratulations. Thank you for coming. On the received communications.
Thank you notes and report.
That's gonna be so much.
Okay. All right. Anybody else?
No, we don't.
Okay, very good. So moving ahead, we got presentations.
Class, come on up.
Great. All right, well, I shared with you kind of some numbers about teammates. We are, we've had the teammates program for about 1.5 years, and I serve as a program coordinator for the district. Teammates is its own organization, but it happens in our schools. So we have building coordinators who are school employees in each building that kind of help run the program, get the mentors trained and started and all that good stuff. We have, after just 1.5 years, we have 70 matches, which is way beyond our expectations. Our goal for the first year was 20. And so to have 70 is pretty amazing. We, even with that, we have 18 kids still waiting for a mentor. Most of those are boys. We started out last year with programs kind of piloted in Garfield, Lincoln, and the middle school here in Clay. And then we added the high school and Wakefield this year. Wakefield, we have 2 matches there. We've been a little slow kind of getting started. We've got a couple kids waiting and a couple mentors waiting, but they're the wrong gender. We match boys with men and girls with women. So we're hoping to do a big launch in Wakefield in the fall and have someone from the national office come down to kind of get the kids excited about it. And we think once the kids are excited, that will generate more interest, hopefully in the community too, to get some more mentors in the schools. One thing that we do get a report back from the national office each year to kind of, they survey our mentees and mentors. And we are finding that the kids that are involved have shown academic improvement. About 48% of them, or 46% showed academic improvement. We know that our frequent flyers to our counseling offices have slowed now that they have a mentor that meets with them weekly. So that's a win for all of us too. Just having another trusted adult in our kids' lives is a pretty big, important thing. So it's been really a successful program. Do you guys have any specific questions about it or anything?
Appreciate the work.
Yeah.
We should celebrate one of our board members recently became a mentor.
Yes.
Been a few months.
She's a regular now.
August, with the new software deal we're working on.
Sure. I'm trying to put this.
I actually got on there and activated mine.
I did notice.
Check on it.
What's our percentage?
Tracy's in, Jeff's in. Can't remember.
I'm not in.
I did check.
The question is, once you're in, how do you get back in?
That's what she's gonna show, yeah.
Cause I thought maybe what this meeting was on it. Cause you said we were. Had to activate it.
To be fair to you guys, I have not dove in very much either. I was waiting for August to give the tutorial tonight.
Well, if you punch it in, there's about 40 different things you can go to.
Okay, so most people aren't gonna be logging. It's just mostly these people at the table, so it's user friendly for the others too, but.
Well, so it's not for us, but it's for others. No, I'm
They
just,
told us when you do log in, I think the page you're talking about, they said, think of it like a tablet. You're gonna click a little button that says community that takes you to here. But I'll send a little. I'll send a little tutorial, yeah.
there you go.
So this is what the page will look like when you come to board docs, which I think looks a lot more modern than previous. Over there, you can see the links to our social media, our YouTube. There'll be this calendar here to show meetings, upcoming meetings, and you can click on past meetings. They have to have occurred in this system, so the other ones won't be on the calendar, but you can click there to see the agenda and see when things are coming up. They have to do one more migration, or else it would be showing today's meeting here. And this eventually will be clickable for the public. Our policy archive, our document library will have all attachments. They have migrated all of our, well, not quite, like I said, we have one more, so the February and March meetings will be there soon. This is all of our old history. All of it for the last, since 2013 should be in here. You can click here and it gives all of your contact information once you get in there.
So this is the community's view.
This is the public site view, yes, yeah. So. Over here, I'm in the middle of the minutes. But. You'll have this side toggle, it probably, I don't know if it'll have all these options for you, but here you can see. I'm gonna edit this, it's not gonna show anything. Well, while it loads, as you can see up here at the top. There's a scratch pad. I don't know if you can see my mouse there, but there's a scratch pad. So I can be making notes during the meeting that only I see within the system.
And each of us can do the same with
Yes,
our own.
yeah, everyone that's logged in can do that. Here it's members notes as well, so I have one on here, not that you're looking at it now, but just to the side, it'll be notes that only you all can see that I've made or whoever makes. I think it's just really a lot more user friendly. These things just slide around. I know you weren't probably building the agenda in board docs, but it's a lot more user friendly, and previously there was not a mobile view. And now there is, like before, if I had forgot to make the agenda live on Thursday at 5, and I was at home, I'd have to get on a computer to do so, you have to right click. Now on a mobile app, I can easily do that, and everybody can look at this in the mobile view instead of a big long browser view. Matt, I'll be working with Matt to put out announcements to the public on our social media, via email to the employees. We'll update the links on our website. We'll put a message on the old board docs saying we've moved over. I think we have, from our last migration, I think we get 30 or 60 days in that system, and then it'll be a read only for another 30 days, and then it will be gone. So we're making sure everything's over here. And I will make little tutorials on some of these little pieces that you guys can use and easy ways to find things that you used to use. And if you have trouble getting in, let me know.
So is the mobile view easier for the public, and the public go to our meeting stuff, and will they be able to more easily read? from
Yes, and
their phone?
yes. Yeah, so back over here. Yeah, and then they won't have to like navigate to a certain meeting to find the link to YouTube. It's always here. The upcoming meetings will always be linked right here. It's all on the front page. They don't have to go anywhere to find old meetings, and the minutes I can do within the system. Now I do them in Word, but I can do them within the system and then link them to the meeting. So if somebody wants to see the minutes from that meeting, they don't have to go to the next meeting where they were approved to find them. They can find them directly in that meeting.
So what do they need to do in between now and next month?
Are
Log
you
in.
gonna switch it over? Yeah, when?
Well, I plan to have this totally pending them getting everything going, in May.
So our May meeting will be on this, the
That's
new
my hope.
platform.
That's my hope, yes. So for sure get logged in, let me know if you can't. I'll walk you through it and, it's also kind of neat when like Jacqueline projects the agenda up here, there's a thing on here, like on the backside, you can toggle what piece you're at, so it highlights it up on the screen. There's also a timer within here, so when somebody does citizens open forum, you can hit timer, that shows on the screen. So whoever's speaking knows how much time they have left or have going, so.
So get logged in. In the next couple of weeks,
For sure,
email you if they have problems or
yes,
challenges.
and I will work on screenshots showing you where to click. And just some fun, like the scratch pad and whatever that you can use. I have April's meeting in here. I think you guys, if you log in, I think you should be able to see it.
I just got used to what we're doing.
I know. If it takes, I don't know, if it takes you that one. I think you can see it, but if you can't, we'll work on that. But I am having a problem uploading some Excel files, so not everything is quite in here. We're still working out a couple bugs, but I hope that May we have it in here.
Ever got a notification on the approval of the agenda
Oh, good,
popped up on there?
cool.
So,
Yeah, I haven't played with the minutes much, so I just. And in there I can record who's voted, who motioned, who seconded. It's easy to record all the votes. It's not something I manually have to note down or watch the video back for.
very good.
Hoping a lot more information will be readily available to everyone.
And just so everyone knows, we think this will be really helpful, but we didn't just choose to go do this. This was truly Board Docs changing their software and their platform and requires us to move over just.
And our renewal was up in February, and it was either you switch to Diligent or you find someone new. And there really aren't many.
Very good.
We don't get all the kinks out of it. It might be better to switch over after school's out. I'm just saying.
You say, gee. He's after school is out, leaves a.
It's almost a May meeting.
Yeah,
So it's up 2 days after.
no, that's what I'm saying.
Very good. So, thank you for that. Yep.
Yes.
And they should have an email link from.
It's in an email I sent you, it's like hi Bond, something rather. If you can't find that email, let me know.
I remember seeing.
Fine. That will move on to the consent agenda. Anybody with any questions? Why would you?
No, we can hit on that now. So, yeah.
Anyway, I'll look at that since it's in.
So, a lot of background and a lot of things are playing into this, but, the Patterson grant, announced a new opportunity for a grant, particularly for CTE, programming and improvement in your communities. At 0 to 500, 50 to 500,000. And so for a long time, we've had a wish and a desire to involve industry experts within our CTE programming. Our teachers do a great job. We have some great CTE teachers, but kind of high level is what we envision would be targeting CTE program for some equipment upgrades. Jacqueline's been in contact with some of the teachers and their needs to more mirror what's going on in each individual field, whether it be welding, construction, science, or ag. But we are going to look at above and beyond just equipment for our students and our staff, seeing if we can pilot a program that we really couldn't find anybody else that has done it, but with the goal of guiding our instruction and our CTE program to mirror the needs of the market in each field. And so we teach welding, we teach construction science, but can we narrow down our scope and our teaching and learning to provide the students with the skills that is actually needed in the real world, you know? And so we talked about using this money to identify some private sector partners and coming to an arrangement where they might come in and teach alongside our teacher. And so they might say, okay, here's a really big need in construction science. This is what we're seeing our workers coming out lacking. And then they would come in and do a project or a lesson alongside the teacher in a certain area. And then the class and the students could work on that for a couple of weeks, but not just way above and beyond just a guest speaker one time a year. We're talking identify a partner that's willing to designate one of their industry experts for a year-long plan to where they come in very regularly throughout the year, targeting skills of the students. And that sounds great in theory, but when those businesses, every person that spends a day in our building, they're out dollars in their real world. So we would write the grant saying, hey, we would pay for your industry experts' time. You know, what's your typical billable hour for a person? And let's, for the amount of hours they would come into our facilities and work with our students and our teachers so that we could compensate them. And hopefully they see it as value because it builds their workforce of students that are coming out. And then we see the value because we get that industry expert in front of our students and our teachers on a regular basis. And so again, we're gonna write it at a really high level. And then we have talked to a few industry leaders in some of these areas within our community. And they've shown initial significant initial interest in this big idea. Obviously, if we were rewarded the grant, there'd be a lot of work to do to schedule it out and to talk about who's planning what, who's teaching what how are we mirroring those standards and working on them. It's a pretty exciting opportunity. It's new, it's different. It's really outside of the box thinking and hopefully would allow us to capitalize on that industry experts to help our students and staff learn. So it's pretty exciting. Kind of, you know, Jacqueline, I always call ourselves the How and Wow. And
Not the wow.
she's not the wow and I'm not the how. And so this was kind of this big idea and it's like, all right, here's the idea. Jacqueline, go visit with everybody and see how we can make this work. So
The
I think,
teachers were excited, and as we're working on the budget, we'll kind of know what it would cost a year. And we'll, you know, whether we write it for a year or 3 years or 5, we'll have to just see where we end up, but it's due Friday, so.
And then
We're working.
we don't, do you have any idea when we would know?
I would have to look, this first turnaround. I don't want to say it's May or early June that we know. There's a second round. We just didn't want to wait for the second round because it really kind of plays into some of our programming that we'd like to know sooner the better, so.
Very good. One question that I had on this was, just exactly what is the TELAC, LEA assurances?
So our federal dollars that we get from the federal government that's our 6B. Basically what they do is have us every single year. It's not required by the board, but I think we've always had the board sign. Usually it's you just saying that we're going to use federal dollars, how they appropriate them.
Okay.
And we just use them for salaries is all we use them for, so.
Okay, right, I'm sure. Okay. Any other questions on the consent? Yes. No, I move to approve the consent agenda items.
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Motion carried 7-0. Go to reports. Board reports first, following comments around the board.
Got a couple positives. I wanted to commend our CCCHS band for a great Stardusters. Really enjoyed that performance this year. Congratulations to all of our national qualifiers for forensics. So they've had a great season. We have 4 going, is that correct? I think at least 4. But congrats to them. And then just a special shout out to all the teachers that are wrapping up state assessments, and congratulations on just 1 month left of the school year. Good luck.
And
Go ahead.
I attended the high school awards night and I was very impressed with how many students received an award that evening. Also, the National Honor Society inductees. Congratulations to them. And something that's dear to my heart, a spelling bee. I'd like to shout out kudos to our middle school student who placed 6th in the Kansas State Spelling Bee.
I'd like to also comment on a sincere thank you to our paras and aides for all the work that they do. For instance, I mean, their actions make a huge difference for our students. And definitely is a blessing for their staff. So thank you.
We give a shout out to Mike and the bus barn crew down there. They're all the things going on with athletic teams going here, there and everywhere and getting everybody around and doing all that. I'm sure it's not fun scheduling stuff this time of year. So shout out to you guys for doing a good job.
And I'd just like to thank Greg, Ferguson and all those involved in getting the new video board at the high school. The people that contributed the money to that, that's very important to them. And everybody always liked to get up sooner, but that really was a quick turnaround to get something like that done. And so appreciate all their work in getting that done and ready. Anything else? No, we'll move on, Brett. Superintendent.
Yeah, I won't read everything. We will start advertising for next year's Tiger House here in the next month or so. It's about the same time of year we do that every year. Same, very similar process to this year, not a lot of changes. It's been rather successful. I guess we could ask our buyer if it has been, but.
Yeah, I would like to talk about the CT, get people involved because I've been invited up there and seen when local contractors have worked on the house, and that relationship is awesome, what they do and how helpful they are. So it's a great project, and I see kind of what we're trying to do on this other thing, just like an extension of that. Yeah, so. Another house next year. What's that? Maybe you want another house next year. Yeah. Well, never know, never know.
KSD did finish our audit, this year. All went very well with the audit. No findings or anything like that. The downside was we are down 62 students this September 20th over last year's. And so as a reminder, that hits our budget next year. We're always a year in the rear. We're graduating 112 seniors this year, and we're anticipating probably 70 district-wide. So we are probably looking at another decline in 40 to 50 students for next year across our district. So that's something that we're going to have to continue to be proactive in probably next year and look at a similar process to this year to hit some targets for the following year. I did include a statewide enrollment report that Andrea found, and sometimes it's nice to know, even though it's not good news, that we're not an anomaly. The states across the state of Kansas is down 3,000 students this year over last year. And that aligns to birth rates across the state and across our nation. And so we're not alone, I guess. Some future summer work, been working with our admin team and our grounds team and our maintenance team and our bus barn on what all needs to, that's kind of their time to get caught up on some stuff when students aren't in the building and around. And so one specific target for the summer. We're gonna give Jason a district-wide budget for this summer for him and his team to address some landscaping and deferred maintenance stuff in the fronts and sides and around our buildings. And so whether that be drainage or simplifying, some of the landscaping to where it's more maintainable and looks more appealing and things like that. And he felt very comfortable with that approach. And then after that, setting some district standards for landscaping in and around our buildings. I was a principal and teacher for a long time, and we all really appreciate it when certain groups come and say, hey, we want to do this, and it's a great idea while that group is there. But the problem we run into is when that person that's has the vested interest in maintaining that is no longer there, it often gets overlooked or becomes somebody else's responsibility. So we're gonna, Jason's developing some plans and some proposals on how to simplify each building, what that scope would be, and what would need to be done. And then once he has that kind of ready, we're gonna sit down with our team and kind of get some good standards in place so everyone's on the same page and we don't end up with miscellaneous things in the future. And so he felt very confident in him and his team's ability to accomplish most of that. I did tell him that we would set aside some dollars within that budget too, in the event he did have to contract any of it out. There are some equipment needs that he might not be able to handle with the equipment that we have, but he thought there was a pretty good chance he could accomplish the majority of it. And then I kind of listed out some of the projects that we have going this summer. We don't really have anything any big projects, with summer maintenance stuff, it's usually those things that are a couple $1,000s or less. Anything that's more than that, we like to line out and budget within our capital outlay budget. And I think when I go over that tonight, you'll see some of those areas that came about in our needs assessments of each building. So kind of that general rule of thumb, anything in that 5,000 or greater mark, we try to target within the capital budget for the following year. Anything that's under that we can deal with mostly in-house. We have a list by building, and our grounds maintenance team will chip away at those. This summer, it will be a lot easier because we don't have as many students in our buildings, so they'll get caught up on a few of those things. I would like to see who would, and you don't have to say tonight if you don't want to, but if you want to, please do so. But some board representation at each school's graduation. In the past, I think we can house generally as many, but kind of district, what we've done in the past has been 2 board reps, if we could find 2 at each one. So if that interests anybody, and if we end up with more, I can visit with the principals and make sure there's room and that we can accommodate that. But the dates are there. So.
And display.
Good.
Graduates. You're there. You got the family involved.
I would like to do plays if we can.
I go like to.
Okay.
Like, everybody could. For us.
Anybody else have a desire to go again? Okay, perfect. We got our 2. You good? Thank you very much. That's all I have. Any questions?
Yeah, I'm Brett. I just have just a few of them here, and it basically just updates is what I was curious about. On the transportation bus, we were looking at that, correct me if I'm wrong, if you would please, but that DOT grant anyway for the liquid propane on that status, do you know of any current update on that, or does Mike happen to have any?
Yes.
We've abandoned the idea, but I'll let Mike tell you why.
Okay,
Yeah, so the proposal was a state grant, and we were gearing towards the propane version of it. Cummins decided not to produce they're producing it for everything but school buses.
okay.
So it's been wiped off the board and kind of made it a moot point.
Okay.
And with the changes, you never what the grants are gonna be for the following year, so it's kind of
we really didn't have, they weren't making what we wanted, so there wasn't much of a point pursuing it.
It was that or electric, right?
That or electric, yeah.
And we really don't have any interest in getting involved in that yet until they get the technology a little.
Got a few years.
Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate that. And then, that's what I had right here was, you know, when a while back, we had the power school breach where some districts were compromised. And is there any other fallout concerning our district on that?
I know I received an email as a staff member that's like offered me assistance, but I haven't for my children. I've heard of 3 or 4 people that have said that, but not an overwhelming amount of people that have, so
I got it.
you didn't.
Offer it from personal phone. Yeah. So,
But I kept mine because I kept checking back because it had my name in parentheses and I was like, was this as a parent or as a staff, but it was as a staff member. As a parent, so, but I did have a parent call me that received one for like one kid and not the other 2, so.
Okay, thanks. The FCC filing public notice update, is there anything that's come through yet, for instance, you know, for inspection?
Oh, I did. I checked in on that about a month ago and it has to go through some federal process and then a hearing date. And so the minimum, it's all in the process. It just has to make it through all the legal. I don't know, Dusty might be able to elaborate.
I know, I mean, I haven't followed.
But we've signed the
We did that,
contract.
right,
It's in the works and they're going through all the requirements on the FCC side of things now. And once that approval's done. Were you CC'd on that email?
I was, they said that it can take months. Once the FCC releases it, which as of a couple of weeks ago, when Brett had emailed them, they were still waiting on the FCC release. So when that happens, and then the whole process begins, that they actually are able to take over the list, but it just takes the federal time to get through that piece of it. So it's like I told Brett, I was like, I really don't expect the money probably until next fiscal year. I mean, we're kind of getting down into it, that it's not in our without projections at this point. Doesn't go into next.
Is there any indication, for instance, and that where these dollars are gonna go on the line item, for instance?
Yeah, so it really complicated, it's considered a reimbursement, even though it's not in our books and the state considers it's reimbursement. So you really have 2 options. It's either contingency or capital outlay. Because if you put it into capital or LOB, it affects legal max and a whole bunch of different things. And so, no, we have not finalized where that would go. My initial thoughts would be capital outlay, so it could be geared towards deferred maintenance and projects. I think we're in a good spot in contingency, but again, we can cross that bridge when we get there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else? No, we'll move on. Anita? There's questions for her? For reporting? With your work on personnel needs and all that is. I
Do what?
think we're setting on the personnel needs in that as of right now.
We've had a couple teachers resign in one district. Mount Mo Glasgow is gonna be closing after another year, but we won't have students there next year. So we're gonna utilize one of those teachers here. I don't think certified. I'm looking for a resignation from one outside district, so I might need to fill one, but I think we're able to utilize and do some movement within. Right now, we're just kind of wondering what kid numbers are gonna be, who's moving out. We'll kind of know in another month. We've had probably 5 this week, so kind of early for that, but we look at individual needs of buildings.
Right.
As kids, Garfield's gonna be a big group for us this next year because we have like 18 kiddos with IEPs moving from Lincoln to Garfield and there'll be like 18 or 19 still there. So a big bunch.
Yeah.
Just making sure we have enough staff.
Very appreciate that. Anything else? Yeah. No, we'll move on. Yeah,
I want to start with our key sibling. There's a skinny little piece of, here you go, in front of you. Wanted to start with that, and I think you guys will remember, at our last meeting, we talked about how we had a literacy goal and a standard alignment goal, but we have to pick one action item to share with KSDE. And after our work in Salina, as well as coming back together with that group, we chose the standard alignment document. And the reason for doing that, we feel like we can hit literacy in there because what that does is accounts for all of our standards. And I'm gonna go ahead and jump up here. Let me pull it up and then I'll just want to show you a little bit about what it looks like. Oh, I'm gonna grab math, for example. So what our teachers have done is down across the bottom is each grade level. There's their tabs, and then across this first column has the actual standard that was given to them. And then the months are listed across the top. And what the teachers worked on was two things. Number one, pulling out the important vocabulary from the standards, as well as what lessons you're doing, what month, just to account for making sure every standard is accounted for. So you're going to notice this is math. And so we have, let me see if I can come, okay. See how we have green over here? And then we have orange and we have blue. And so the green are the 70% items. And then the orange and blue are the 20 and 10s. And so looking at the sequence of what we do, we want to make sure we account for all of the items. But if you are in that tested grade levels, especially grades 3 through 8, you want to get your 70% items in because they're going to be the bulk of they're your anchors standards in math. And math is the only one that does this, but so we did have the teachers go back in and put these colors on here as well. So anyways, it shows, just kind of helps you plan out your year and make sure that you are, accounting for all of your standards. And so, our goal next year is to provide teachers the professional collaboration time to work not only across grade levels, but vertically, talking to the people who are before you and after you, making sure that, talking to if I'm a 5th grade teacher, talking to the 6th grade teacher, what are the kids coming in week at, or what do they need help with? What do I need to spend more time on? And then making those adjustments in our tool and vice versa, going the other way. We're definitely going to allow time to focus on that vocabulary as well. And then we're going to collect data as administrators as we do our walkthroughs. So I've been practicing with a few of the principals. And so before I go over there, I say, hey, or before I go into the buildings, I say, where are we going to visit today? And I pull this up and I say, okay, this is what we should be seeing. We're going into this room, we should be seeing quadratic formula, or we should be seeing the bug unit, or we should, whatever it may be. So then when we go in, are we in alignment with that? And the teachers, they have this all out, but I'll use an example. Even this year, when you have 4 or 5 snow days, you might be off, right? And so I did this once with the principal. She says, I know we're off by a week because we're catching up because of this. But that teacher had communicated that with the principal. Principal already knew that. So when I went there, I said, we should see this. She goes, actually, you're a week ahead. We're actually right here. And I said, that's awesome. That principal knew that, the team had communicated that and whatnot. So anyways.
As a reminder, so this was a goal that the completion of this process and these documents was a district-wide goal this year to be met by January 30th, January 30th. And we had that day built into the calendar. And as long as teachers and principals accomplish this, 100% completion, standards aligned to your curriculum, they got that
January 2nd off.
January 2nd off. And so we had 100% completion. And so now think of this goal of KESA's, and this is a structured literacy component to make sure we're aligned, make sure we're teaching standards and our content. The next step is the implementation of, that's the kind of this agreed, the simplified version is this is making sure that we are implementing the scope and sequence district-wide so that our students don't miss standards, so our students don't miss content. And so that's kind of the big idea is making sure that we have alignment and implementation of the tool that was created. So it's the second step of the standards alignment.
And to go back even further, all this stemmed from the strategic plan work and our KESA needs assessment. Under that responsive culture for learning and just making, again, like Brett said, making sure we don't leave a gap or leave a hole as the kids progress. And so one thing we're doing with you guys as well as site councils is just looking ahead and kind of seeing and hearing what we're going to work on. What kind of updates would be most meaningful for you guys as far as when we share back throughout the year? What would be the most meaningful updates that Brett and I could provide you guys? We'll have a scoreboard with our walkthrough data. We will have agendas those professional collaboration agendas. So those are two things I know we could share with you guys. Is there anything else that maybe comes to mind? And if you don't have one tonight, but you think of something, please share it with me and I can try to get that for you. So
I would just be interested in after we do this the first year and you set out this plan, and is it too ambitious or is it all online? What type of adjustments you'll have to make after
sure.
the first year? Because you may get behind. How do you figure in snow days, like you're saying, and stuff like that, and still end up at the end results?
Mhm.
Since the way we do contracted days, we don't make those days up.
Right.
So it'd be interesting
Yeah.
in that regard.
And something that I know I've talked to some elementary teachers on is we took all the content areas and divided them up. So we put 2 people on ELA and then someone on math, science, and social studies. So whoever wrote them, they're pretty dedicated to them, and they know them kind of inside and out. But if you're that elementary teacher, you might teach all of those things. And so that was something that the feedback that came not only DLT, but when we got our admin team and our KESA reps together again, was if I'm the one who wrote the math one, I would love to get to share that out loud with the other, talk about some of those details with my colleagues too, and definitely partnering Clay Center and Wakefield together, because at Wakefield, they're the only one sitting there in isolation. So, and I know they email or they can call or whatever, but to sit down and provide them that time to talk through it is more valuable. So we're working on what that looks like. Our principals are going to get feedback from their buildings this Thursday at the early release PLC time. And then I think they'll kind of end up with a menu of choices, but definitely so much time that needs to be dedicated to giving the teachers time to look at this during their in-service time. So.
And I'd just add, number one, thank you for all our staff who worked so hard on these, especially if you think about some of our positions where you have a brand new teacher coming into the classroom. They now have a document that they can pick up that has all their Kansas state standards along the side. And it shows where their curriculum teaches each one of those standards and a timeline out for the year. So they're not going in blind. So they have a plan, they have a template, they have a tool to rely on to ensure that they're covering all the content for the students in their class. I think that's a huge benefit to having this tool.
We've, with some of the just movements and adjustments we've had to make with staff, seen in talking to one, I saw some weight lifted off her shoulders when I mentioned, you have this to help you get started, and she's like, oh my goodness, that is right, and, so. And they can be adjusted, it's a Google spreadsheet, so they can edit and they can move, and that was one thing we had them talk about. At the last in-service was, what is that protocol you wanna use when you need to make a change? But I think we'll be able to give them that time at in-services next year, so. So there's that, if you think of updates or something related to progress that you would like me to share, just let me know. Also on here, as far as the new teachers, the wrap up, we have 4 first-year teachers. 3 of them have initial licenses and 1 has a restricted, so, I just found that's interesting. And thought I wanted to share that with you, and then, state assessments are open. We're getting close to 40 on our Lincoln and Garfield summer learning and about 20 at Wakefield, so we're finishing up those details as well. We did submit the grant for the after-school program written K-12 for Wakefield. That has been turned in, but we don't know anything. And by May 1st, the Perkins federal grant, we will submit the equipment needs for that one as well. That is separate from the Patterson one. But that will, that budget will go in by May 1st, along with Concordia. And just a reminder of our Expect Success is on May 14th at 1 o'clock. And we would love for all of you to be there, but if we could have one of you there to help in that process. And usually the board handles our retirees. So anybody who can be there, we would greatly appreciate that. So.
You want them to just communicate directly with you if they're interested? Okay.
If you don't, then I'll just hound you all, so. Beg a few of you and say.
Thank you, Jackie. You're going back to who provided this information. I wasn't for sure on the credit recovery thing for the winter. You provide that stuff. Which got me so like on Wakefield, there was 1 credit and 1 student in a grade. I wasn't for sure. So at the high school, there was 18 students and you counted 9. So does that mean that just each recovering a half a credit? Is that?
I believe that's correct.
It's not that half of them didn't finish it. You see what I'm
No,
saying?
they just were
That's-
doing half credits.
Okay.
Yeah. They don't, I think that's all they let them do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And we will, if you like that spreadsheet format, we'll do the same with the summer credit recovery again. I know the one thing, of talking to all 3 of the buildings, the high school said their freshman credit recovery, Clay Center High School said their freshman credit recovery numbers were drastically down, and they attribute that to their it's freshman success plan or whatever that they have. It is less control, less control for them. I mean, they're assigned PLTs and they're assigned to the specific rooms to get support depending on what their grades are looking like. So they really feel like that freshman team of teachers is really having an impact on that. So
Yeah, the one that was kind of weird is 7 and 9 are in the 10th grade at the high school. So there's that one big group. Everybody else was 1 or 2, in a grade.
Yeah.
So
the sophomores were, there was no freshmen, but it was the sophomores that there
yeah,
was
there's almost 7.
7 of them.
Of the 9. Obviously, I don't know what that means or the past, but I thought that was interesting.
Did you do that on a weekend or did they do that during school?
I believe they did that during, they had to give up PLT and Tiger Time or before or after school, so.
Anything else for Jackie? Discussion items, into that. You want me to, this one's on the bottom, capital outlay.
Yeah, I'll start out, I'll start out with the end in mind and, say that, I think we probably ought to consider a special meeting here soon. It's dedicated to bond planning, if you guys would all be open to that. And that way we can maybe be a little bit more thorough and take the time that's needed to discuss potential projects. And so, I'll kind of bounce back to that as I kind of give you a quick overview. So, over the last several weeks since last month's meeting, it's a lot of information, as you know. I mean, it's spreadsheets and spreadsheets and more spreadsheets. And so, when BHS partnered with us, their charge was to identify every single possible thing that might be an issue in the next 10 years. So there was a lot of information. And so they used some other partners to help in non-construction type items, whether it be HVAC or roofs. So for example, we have an annual roof audit done every year, and then we identify the usable life of each of our roofs. The good news is we're down to single digits of roofs that are gonna need to be looked at in the next 10 years. And so that's good news. And so it's what I did. I spent more time with each of those partners, trying to understand our future needs, especially with our roofs and HVAC, because those are big dollar items. And so and then also spent several more hours with BHS, just really digging in and understanding some of their recommendations, some of their thoughts as it related to our facility needs over the next 10 years. And so kind of some high level guardrails that I've been trying to put together in a usable format so that you guys aren't starting from ground zero would be preparing for hopefully a special meeting where you guys can dive into it a little bit more, would be to look at what are on our big 10-year list. And I've been working on our draft of the 10-year capital outlay plan too, plugging and playing, and it's a lot. One thing goes here, how does another fit here, and vice versa. And so one thing that I've been really working on is what are the projects within the next 10 years that don't require like design fees, stamp drawings, project management, those kinds of things that we can handle in-house, that we don't need to pay GC services for, or we don't need to pay design fees for, because those things add up a lot. And then I'm trying to plug those from BHS's list over into a 10-year plan where they fit, just again, for a starting point for you guys to look at. So hopefully it'll help you guys get further along in your discussions. And so, like, for example, like rooftop units, we don't need to pay design fees or construction management on those. That's a like for like, the size of that thing, and it's a plug and play, for lack of a better term. So can we fit our HVAC needs into our capital outlay plan over the next 10 years? We don't have a big list because we did most of them in 2020. And so with that list, we didn't touch anything that was installed in 2015. We only did something that was 10 years older, but some of that equipment that we didn't do in 2020 was is gonna be coming to 25 years or so by the time we get to the end of the 10 years. So can we plug some of those things in and account for those budget items within our plan? Roofs, those are something, you put a backer board and a TPO on, you don't need to pay 10% of a $500,000 roof for design. You remove the insulation, you remove the TPO, you put new insulation in, you put backer board on and TPO on it. And so can we fit the remaining roofs into our capital outlay plan and not pay extra fees because if you put it in a bond, they're gonna require drawing, design, and construction management. So trying to tackle some of those. Another example is when BHS put together our list, They took Central Mechanic, our basically our preventative maintenance contract that we have that lists out every single piece of equipment that we have in the district, from an ice machine to a freezer to a big rooftop to water heaters to all of the things. And so, like, for example, BHS put in there, well, here's, what do you call, exhaust fans on the top of the buildings that, they're like, okay, well, these are getting old, so you need to, that's in the list at $6,000 a piece. Well, when I sit down with Central, they're like, you don't replace those until they go bad. It's a service call, and and you replace them and fix them as they go bad. Or like at the middle school, the air handlers that are all hidden behind the walls, they're like, yeah, we don't see anybody really touch those things until they go bad, unless you're doing major building design. So take that $1 million out. Just keep in mind, though, if you have an air handler go bad, it's gonna be an expensive service call. We're gonna have to probably dig into the wall, cut it, put a new motor, whatever it is, but you're not gonna experience the value of that dollar to just go in and replace them all. And so just trying to really go line by line and really understand that, so that at least my goal would be, when we get to the special meeting, at least you have a starting point that you can work off it. And so I'll show you a little example. You guys have all seen their spreadsheet, and another thing, and this is draft. I wrote draft over the big thing because I've been working on this thing forever, but we do need to talk about in the next couple of months, specifically next fiscal year, and what we're going to do within capital outlay. And so again, kind of prioritizing some of these things out, but you can see this 10-year plan, like at the high school, we have 2 rooftops. By the end of this 10-year period, they're going to be broaching 20 to 25 years old. Well, let's incorporate them in our plans somewhere. It doesn't mean that's the year it's going to happen, but within the next 10 years, there's a fairly high likelihood that something may fail that you would want to replace it. So, or be preventative. Like they're saying, the shop heater, the kitchen rooftop, or gym floors, those kinds of things that we need to account for. And that's where we really working. But for next year, I'll just kind of run down the list. This is the shop roof at the high school, and the existing roof next to it. This is one, it's a black rubber roof. The seams are coming off. We're having problems with it. Like, we need to do it. It's been on our list for 5 years. We've been planning on it. There's some old window units we're gonna get rid of. Gotta make sure that the welding booths can ventilate. They need to hook something up. I don't really understand it. The middle school gym sound system has been on the list for several years as a need. At Wakefield, it looks like in the band and the shop area, we still have some waxing floor that we want to replace up to our new district standard. So, and yes, we're getting close on flooring, but we still have a little bit more to go. Garfield has a little bit more that we need to target. Flooring's another big one. We don't need to pay design fees and GC fees on flooring. We have a great partner with Floor Perfect. They almost always win our bids. Is there one on there for tonight? Yeah.
No, last month.
Did we do it last month? And did they approve that? Okay, got it. Oh no moment. So again, flooring, like in our 10-year plan or bond, like I wouldn't recommend that we do any flooring in a bond. And that's something we can handle in-house. We can take care of on our own. Craig can manage that process. Lincoln, same thing. There's a black, one of our few, and if you see, look on Google Earth, and if you see a black roof, that's an old roof. Old rubber, it's not new TPO. So those are the ones we're trying to get rid of. And again, we're darn close on roofs. Lincoln put in a request for safety and visitors to add a buzzer and a camera to another door where they have a lot of, just to help control traffic through. And then our maintenance team, we have an old single stack. I call it single stack Genie. It's not safe. It's fallen over several times when the guys have been trying to use it. And so I don't feel comfortable sending them up on that. Craig thought we could find a nice used one in that $6,000 range. And that's the machine they use to access all the high ceilings across the district, to do lights or whatever, all the stuff that they do. Jason was gonna get back to me on this one. We may end up extending that one out another year where he feels with the hours. Kind of the general idea of our mowers has been, they get used, they put so many hours on them to just keep those rotating through on their 3-year warranty. They have a lot of value, and it costs 16,000, but I think the last one we got 12 or 13,000 out of. And so just not getting behind, keeping up with that. This is, and I'm gonna own this one. Mike and I worked on a report for the activity bus board report. It was done. It just didn't make it to the agenda. So that was my fault, nobody else's. And so, but as you know, this year we did have the 214 for an activity bus. We were originally looking at crossing that over between this year and next year. As you can see, our bottom line, we're gonna end up a little bit better than we thought. We always estimate high and hope for lower, and it happened again this year. And so Mike did put together a report. He did a lot of research on this. Basically, he could look at what he calls a branded team type bus, kind of the branded ones you see with more of the stadium type, for 214. But he did find a source that does have a 65 passenger activity bus with air conditioning and hydraulic brakes and all the stuff that we needed for 149, call it 150, and that's sitting on a lot right now, Mike.
Correct.
The only thing modification, we would have to add some, as an ad from the factory, some inside storage.
Yeah, overhead storage.
So they can put their stuff up there. And that, Mike and I talked, that would be our recommendation, to not go with a branded style. Save a little bit more money and tackle a couple of other items that Mike.
Gas or diesel?
That's a diesel.
And those are reflected in the following year. So the bus jack explained that, Mike.
Oh, we got an air jack to lift our buses. It's a end lift, what it's called. So you put it on the bumpers and lift it up. It is very, very old and only rated it at 12,000 pounds. So we need to upgrade. So I think we're gonna go away from the end lift and go for an under axle hydraulic lift. So basically a ginormous jack for buses. So we went away from the air jacks, the end lift jacks 20 years ago, man. They're scary. So.
And so he kind of wrote this as a savings. So if we had 214 budgeted, let's go down to the 150 and see if we can fit in some of these other priorities. And I just plugged them into next year. And conceptually, it really doesn't make a difference because your bottom line's the same. It matters a lot with requisitions. And Andrea has a deep desire not to carry over POs between fiscal years. And so
That was nicely put.
it's kind of rob Peter to pay Paul. It's the same one. It just doesn't. But anyhow, so think of that 214. If we would go with the 150, then could we fit in a transit with a lift and the software upgrade that Mike did a great job writing about in his report that you guys didn't see, that's not in there, but we will include that next month for you guys to look at. But those are some of transportation needs, and then he would take the current transit with the lift out of it, put the lift in the new one, or swap them out, and then we could put a transit back into our fleet for activity use. We did from our expedition, we're still looking at that expedition accident and getting that one replaced. The software upgrade, Mike it'll be in your report, he can tell you about it, but it's a way to manage the fleet and the maintenance within the fleet.
And mileage tracking, and it's got a lot of great benefits. We did the routing software 3 years ago and saw some great benefits from that. This is the same company, but on the maintenance side. And it can expand from transportation to grounds to maintenance, depending on how many units you want to cover. But it'll help us track our sped miles, make sure that we're accurate on our federal forms for free trips, all that. Something that we're using spreadsheets and notes to do, that would be nice to have in one accessible, Andrea, for tracking mileage, for reimbursements, all that stuff. It would help us on that.
And Mike, any idea what that storage, if the bus is 150, any idea dollar figure to add that storage or?
10,000, somewhere in that ballpark. That's judging from a build sheet. So when you order a bus, depending on what brand and all that good stuff, and the size is $7,000 to $10,000. So we didn't add it on there, probably closer to 10,000 on there. And yeah, those buses are just basically buses that the dealerships buy at the beginning of the year. They'll be allotted 10 buses. And they'll say, well, we're gonna build 5 like this, 3 like this, 2 like this, put them on the lot, and then everybody else orders them. This also gets us away because we're looking at another round of huge price increases this year. I got a bid on a similar bus to be built was $175,000. They said it'd never get delivered at that price, 12-month build time, and he said it would never hold. So
And so this one is on the lot.
it is on the lot, ready to be bought, just a matter of doing the paperwork on it, and then it would go to the retrofitter to get the storage put on.
So one of those transit deals with a lift costs $80,000.
$78,000.
Without a lift, it's 50,
59,
58, 59.
They stick up in the air high enough, they could flip over driving down the highway.
Activity trips, they're one, the preferred because they have more storage and they can haul more kids.
They're also, yeah, I don't want to butt in, I'm sorry. If
Go
you-
ahead.
Okay, so the new transits are different than the old transits. They're set up on the F-350 chassis, so they're dual wheel with a stiffer suspension, so it mitigates a lot more of the, and these are the raised roof, not the high top. They've got 3 height options, so the wheelchair is the mid rise.
So that's, and then again, hopefully we can dig into, based on what you guys think ought to be in the bond versus what not, and then this will just be a live document as we talk. Not next year, but once we decide on next year, hopefully next month, you'll approve next year's capital outlay budget, and then our team can go get to organizing on those, but then everything post next year will kind of be plug and play. What can we fit into a bond? What can we fit into a capital outlay? And where does each piece fit? And so that's kind of the overview of the work that I've been doing. And again, it's still very much a draft format, and it will highly depend upon what items the board chooses to target where and when. So
The date that we're trying to throw around a little bit was May 9th. Which would be the Monday before a regular school board meeting, and if anything else had to be done, regular school board meeting, it could be done. I don't know how that plays in everybody else's. But it would just be the bond and kept all specific working on those, guys getting started with that. How that works in people's schedules, how you feel about that? That'd be great. What's the first month?
Friday.
Sorry.
It's heavy like that. Well,
The fifth, sorry. Sorry, the fifth. So May 5th, the first Monday.
2 weeks from now.
Yeah. Yeah. So. Then nothing, let's make that work. I think that's what it's gonna take, just. Be very specific with those things and get going in great detail, so. I make a motion that we schedule a special meeting on May 5th at 6 p.m. For capital outlay / bond planning. Second, a second, all those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Here's 80. All right. Next, the project for bid review.
yeah, this is a little bit of a downer, not all a downer, but you guys are well aware that we have a list of projects that we budgeted within our capital outlay plan. We initially went into the idea of doing some of those in-house, but then we shifted away from that. Could we just have it all project managed? So we put it all out for a bid. Got one round back, it came in too high, so we reduced the scope. Put it back out for bid. We got another bid back. The auditorium did come in a little bit higher, but in my mind, still very doable within our plan. I think you saw it in there. I had it plugged in as the 220. And that would accomplish the entire scope in the auditorium. We did add some scope to that because the whole front fascia of the auditorium needs repainted. And we've had some leaks and some different things. The lighting costs went up between now and the last one, but I'm sure you guys have some thoughts on it. In my mind, it's very doable. The Wakefield safe room came in at 28. It was budgeted at 30. So we would recommend approving BHS to contract and manage those projects. And the other smaller projects, the hope would be that we set aside that additional 30,000 or an additional 30,000 that was already budgeted. Give Craig that budget to go contract with local contractors to accomplish as much of the scope in those smaller projects as he can. They were way outside of our budget range. Craig felt good about that process. He felt like he's already been in communication with some local contractors, done some site visits, and feels like he can accomplish the intent of most of those scopes within a couple of
What
weeks.
are they doing on that seclusion room that it's $26,000?
It's, well, the design fees, the designs are in there, but it's metal stud walls up to the ceiling. You gotta have HVAC to it. You gotta have a new door on it, epoxy floor.
Why epoxy floor?
Sometimes when kids are in there, you need to easily be able to clean it.
The ones at Garfield don't have epoxy floor.
And the.
Don't have metal studs, don't have any of that kind of stuff.
This is doing it the right way.
Seems like a lot of money to build two walls in a corner of the room. I mean, two of the walls are already brick and mortar. I mean, I'm not, that seems like a bunch.
There's some visibility things on, I mean, there's code requirements of how it has to be, like placement of things and being able to be visible, and I mean, there's.
I know the magnetic locks for those, we bought one at Lincoln a couple of years ago and it was 3,000.
There's just.
So do we have magnetic locks on the ones at Garfield?
I don't think they use them for that function.
They don't use those two little rooms in that one room?
They use, my understanding is more for direct instruction, but they do use them some.
We have
But
one we're using right now.
in an ideal world, you would build all of them up to this spec.
Seems like an awful lot.
We've had tile before, and we've had a student pick the tile off to lay on the cold floor underneath. Sometimes they go to the bathroom in there. It's gotta be something that'd be washable, cleanable.
Okay, Craig.
I think they,
30,000 when they want 191,000 to do the same job.
shoot more than that, three bathrooms for
$400.
266,000.
Well, we're not doing anything perfect. Right?
That would be the recommendation, to wait and see what you guys decide on the bond first.
And we had no other companies bid on these? And who'd we send them to?
We published it in both newspapers. I don't know who all Andrea sent it to. She sent it to 3 or 4 different contractors.
Where'd she go?
I don't know. She didn't want to answer your question.
Well, I mean, it seems like we're putting all our eggs in one basket. I mean, to me, with BHS, and that's why the price is so high.
I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it was published in both newspapers. It was on our website.
So, but how many construction companies besides BHS probably takes the local paper? I mean,
Andrea,
who'd we send this stuff to?
We just put it on our website, advertised it in both newspapers. I didn't send it to anyone. That was kind of the method, just kind of word of mouth, and like I said, put it in both regionally and the Listener Dispatch.
So no construction companies out of Manhattan knew about these projects other than BHS. more, more or less.
I will give an example. I assumed that maybe potentially by doing it that way, like Mr. Folks works for Simpson Construction. If Simpson, if he's still reading the paper, would have seen it. I mean, we can definitely facilitate. It's just hard for me to reach out to facilitate from a couple of contractors that just I know.
Are we paying architect fees on this stuff?
We did pay design fees, you guys.
So how come our architect doesn't reach out to some of these companies?
He may have, I don't know.
He. Again.
Well, either he did or he didn't. I mean, one or the other.
I can't answer that.
Well, I mean, that's a question I would like to answer. I mean, if we're only giving VHS the opportunity to bid it, then we're not getting a very good bid because they know they're gonna get it right off the bat.
I did get a phone call from a contractor in New Jersey. And I know that sounds crazy, and then we got another one. And what it is through AI, when things go out on our website, there are people that have subscriptions to platforms. That goes out and it just scours the websites and they grab them and post them on their website as members. And then you start getting phone calls. And so the New Jersey one really kind of took me by surprise that this gentleman was interested in our project, from the East Coast.
Well, I can think of one that has spent a lot of time in Clay Center in the last 5 years doing projects as Schultz Construction. They redid the whole Apollo Towers and redid some other stuff here in town, and I'm sure they would have gave us a bid if they knew about the projects. I mean, they've been in Clay Center for the last 3 years working on the park complex. So I'm not sure why, if we're just giving it to one person or one company, that's why we're not getting very good bids. Because they have no competition, they can throw a number at it and.
How do we come up with a list of who we hand deliver the bids?
I don't know if we gotta
fairly?
hand deliver them, but there's all kinds of companies in Manhattan.
Well, the bid and the number one thing and.
Concordia, there's no contractors in Concordia or Beloit or Salina or any of those places would be interested in coming to Clay Center to do work.
Well, so when we went out for the rebid, like Brett mentioned, we went out one time and it was all the plumbing projects, the seclusion room and the auditorium, all as one package, and it came back. Wow, okay, so let's
And then
bring
we
this back.
split them out because we
split it
thought
out.
that some of the people were scared off of the auditorium. And then we split them out to where a smaller company.
And you still only got one bid.
And the auditorium was the lead bid because it was felt that it was the most.
So that gives me a little hesitant about doing a bond issue if we can only get one bid to do projects.
I don't disagree with you.
Cause I don't think VHS should get it all personally. And that's what's happening. Every time I turn around, it's VHS and Central Mechanical. And that's why some of your local people quit doing some of that, because we put all our eggs in one basket and cut everybody off, and now we can't get people to bid stuff.
Craig, for the basically $78,000 of work in the women's bathroom, how much of the scope can you complete for 15,000?
Well, putting new partitions up and painting it, maybe some new toilets. Maybe they were going outrageous, new ceilings and
Right.
new tile on the walls, so that wouldn't get that.
Or we don't really need it.
So basically, Greg, this is, material, quality material by all means. It's not like platinum, titanium,
Right.
aircraft grade aluminum, anything like that, where, material is high dollar to begin with, let alone, the installation part of it itself. Okay.
One of the things with the plumbing thing that had come up, there was, a lot of our facilities are concrete block. And you go start trying to move plumbing stuff, they were gonna have to start cutting through concrete to get to some of those lines to get it. So, it's not a home remodel type of project. They have to start.
So Craig would be more of a like for like than moving stuff around.
Are there legal requirements that we need to meet in that seclusion room? Or specific
that's
things that we
why
have to,
That,
that's,
Also, back on the auditorium, that was our lead one. It's really a specialty thing that no matter who your general contractor is that does oversee that project. They've got
they're gonna come in and they're gonna put the lights in, but then you have to hire an electrician that's actually gonna come in and hook this stuff up. But there's only, I believe, 3 contractors in this region, I don't even want to say in the state of Kansas, that specializes in theatrical work. So whoever the lead general contractor is that do that, they're all 3 gonna call the same company that is gonna provide all of those. That's my understanding of that specialty work. On that.
Well, Brett, a chance on this, what BHS had here for the honors morning, particularly, does that also cover that water stained backdrop that's in the back? I know that we discussed that time when we were doing the building tour on that.
Well, how about if we break this out, to individual projects? I move to give final approval to accept the bid from VHS Construction for the CCCHS Auditorium for the amount of $220,281.69.
And that's us taking the contingency off. You guys saw that in there. We hold the contingency.
I'll second.
A motion and second, all those in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
And the second one would be, I move to give final approval to accept the bid from VHS Construction in the amount of $26,397.22 for the Wakefield exclusion room.
I'll second.
A motion and second, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 4-3.
Then I authorize a $30,000 budget for the USD 379 Director of Maintenance for bathroom improvements at CCCHS and Wakefield to be completed in the summer of 2025.
Second.
Motion and second, all those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. I do think that as we move on and these other projects, we have to do whatever we can to get more people to bid. Well, I totally
It
agree.
used to be you had to get 3 bids for everything, anything over $20,000.
That means we specifically gotta send them, I agree, Schultz does a lot of work, they just did the Blue Stem building, and they're around here a lot. I mean, make an effort to get those where they actually, we know they're saying they're not interested because we actually got the bids there.
Do we add it to like the Mercury or the Wichita paper? Is that
I go to Manhattan now, can we print them off and just hand deliver them? You know, just
I
drop.
just think we gotta get it out more than just on our website and then the 2 local papers. I mean, or else you're not gonna get any bids because. I mean, them 2 local papers may go around our county, but they don't get to where the other contractors are.
Right.
I mean, as far as that goes.
I agree, we need to get the bids of more people. Just see and get off their savings. Anything else? Let's see here, next up, technology purchases, which we got last month. Any questions on the technology purchases? Don, I know you give final approval to purchase the technology item just presented.
second?
A second, all those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. There's that, new courses, we had that last month. Provide all the information, any other questions on the new courses for 2025, 2026? So I move to approve the new courses for the 26 school year.
Second?
Got a second, all those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Section 125. The benefits.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for quite a few months now, and our committee met with, heard a few different presentations from different companies and did staff survey and recommended that we shift away from our current 125 benefit provider of American Fidelity and move towards Benefits Direct. Doesn't cost the district any money. but it is very important benefits for our employees and I think our committee, Jason was on there, but our committee was most impressed with the additional offerings and the cost savings from Benefits Direct and the partnership that they provided. So that was the committee's recommendation that we should to Benefits Direct.
You know, I guess after we get switched over, it'll be a lot easier for Kathy year to year, for people to fix stuff. And there she is right there.
Fine.
Do you have any comments you wanna make on the 1.5? Okay.
Kathy did the legwork on the report, so.
Any questions?
Do you want to share some of your most recent experience?
Well, I think one of the most important things to think about is the relationship between IMA and Benefit Direct. I mean, they have done business together for a long time, so that is huge. They are literally holding my hand. I imagine I'll have 6 meetings a month together with them or separated, just the details of what they're needing and the compliance, regulation, the things that they're just supporting us with. So no complaints. They're great people. I think they'll be great to do business with and try and do their very best to get us the best products out there.
Any questions? I move the Board of Education authorize superintendent to engage Benefits Direct, National Insurance Marketing Brokers LLC to broker on behalf of USD 379 all ancillary products and administrative services. And in a second, all those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Review of student handbooks. This is just a discussion, information item. They're all there. Do you have anything that you want to add to that?
Right, Gracie, I did have a question. Yeah, what I was wondering about, I just was looking there, of course, it was just draft only. In the Wakefield High School and the CCHS student handbook update, I noticed that in the dress code section, it looks like what was drafted in here is if we do adopt this, then do we need to update our board policy itself, which is JCDB, which is, basically states, which was last revised in January 2022, is JCDB dress code. Do we need to update that if we go through with the adoption of this new policy for the student handbook? Or is the current dress code policy for the board, will this umbrella, anything that's added?
And you're looking at me, I don't have any idea.
Yeah,
I would
that's
need
what
to
I'm
look
just
into
kinda
two of them to say.
Schools can be more stricter than what the policy is, but yeah, we can look at that over the next 30 days and just make sure it all fits, so there's no conflict.
That's what I was wondering, because some of the language in here, it's similar in that part, when I was looking at it, because I had the JCDB board policy here listed for dress code. And some of it's similar, some of it isn't. And that's what I didn't know for sure if what we currently have in force, if it is like an umbrella dress code policy or any changes, any updates, revisions, things like that for the student handbooks. On there,
We'll definitely look at that.
okay.
I heard all this. Yep, no. Appreciate you pointing that out. Any other questions on that at this time? Like I say, we go through those kind of questions, make sure we get them, and that's a lot to review, so we'll get them questions and give them a chance to before the next meeting, or any questions, and like I said, you can forward those to me also if you'd like, with the handouts.
All right, well, thank you.
Capacity recommendations as required by. Oh, yeah, semi-annual fundraising is that, I just have a couple things, and so I went through counties, there's 105 things. Is that, but Well, like from my standpoint, I know they're all fundraising, but I don't consider concession stands. If we're selling something and people are getting something back.
But
The
by
ones that is,
definition,
no, I think it all needs to be under, don't get me wrong, I think it all needs to be under there, because we're doing fundraisings. My concerns are the ones where we actually go out and ask for money or ask for donations, of keeping those down to a minimum as much as possible. I didn't know if Jeff knew anything, but I thought it was the Wakefield. A lot of them are Wakefield PTO.
Yeah, but my question is, why are we putting our thumb on something that those people are out there doing the work and doing something good for our kids and donating stuff and buying stuff that this board has no control over?
Well, I don't think we are putting our thumb on.
Well, I mean, this whole process has been a fiasco as far as I'm concerned, to tell you the truth. I mean, it just, the time of work that the administrator, like just the administrator at Wakefield, for example, has done to present this thing tonight to us, it's just been nonstop.
But this is no more than what they have to present to Jacqueline every year. There's nothing else on here, correct? Jacqueline?
So you get all that every year from everybody? So how come there's no orange and black pack stuff on there?
because it's, the definition of the fundraiser is, where we get involved is when it's done at a school event or on our.
So orange and
property.
black doesn't do anything on our school property or in our buildings?
They're big fundraisers, they're golf tournament,
Yeah, but do they do anything in our buildings or on our property?
not that I'm aware of, except for the meals, the pregame meals, they're on that list.
So is that a fundraising deal or is
Yeah.
that just a thing that they do?
It's a fundraiser, and pregame meals are listed on here,
So
Greg
are
does
they-
that every year.
But it's by orange and black pack, right? Not the student body or the Stuco or
No.
the,
So Greg gives me one approval for pregame meals for football and basketball, and I think baseball has something in there,
And
maybe
then
one.
we ask to have a meal, each individual group,
And
so
then
like,
people sign up for them, and so Orange and Black Pack, I know, does
Would
one
be
of them with
one
their bike
or-
night.
I'm trying to think, we did, I think we did
But the
one for
difference
after.
is it's because it's at. our-
It's at our events. On our-
Yeah, and so they
on
are
our
all orange and black, that's all different.
but I'm saying, so what we're doing is anything that happens on our facility or involves our kids was supposed to be listed on this list for our approval.
For the fall semester.
fall semester.
I believe that was the.
So if Orange and Black Pack does something that's for the kids or on our property, then it should be listed in this list.
It's not for our kids, it's when it's on our property or at our event. That's when it comes into play. If it's our organization.
So anything that
yes.
okay, so I'll go back to the Wakefield PTO, anything that they do or anything that's done outside, that's not on school property.
Correct, and we had a meeting with, Wakefield Booster Club, Orange and Black Pack, and then the PEPs. Brett and I did, and explained the whole policy and said, if it's off our property and not at our event, don't include us. We don't need to have anything to do with that.
So here's my other thing, why are we trying to control or put our thumb on a group that their money doesn't even go through our bank account?
Well, I can give you one example. We had
No,
a,
no, I'm just,
From our standpoint, that is the direction we were given by you guys, so that is what we're doing.
but I'm questioning that now is after all this process.
sure,
Is why are we telling PTO or Orange and Black that their bank account has nothing to do with our bank account? And they're donating stuff to our schools and to our kids. And we don't have to do anything to do that, but to let them set up a stand or set up something at a basketball game. Why do we have anything to even do with that?
so this language for the school event and school property came from KSB. Not, I mean, that was, the only thing you guys changed was that you were going to approve them. The actual, everything else about it came from KASB, and I think that's our way of acknowledging that we know what's going on in our building at our events.
See, our buildings are open 24/7 as far as, I mean, the lights, I don't think the lights ever shut off. So if we're gonna try to control that, we better hire some more night staff.
So the big thing, big difference is this approval process required these organizations to tell us ahead of time because we had to get your approval. Other than that, nothing.
So who approved things in the past?
I did.
So you did it all. The administrators of the buildings didn't approve anything.
Oh, they did. They approved it first, and if they approved it, I approved it. Sometimes I would ask a question if there was something I.
But
had
like there was a
question
deal
on.
on there that said, reason for raising this money. and there wasn't, I mean, or when it was gonna happen, it just said 25, 26. We still don't know when it's gonna happen or when it's gonna, what's gonna take place.
So when we talked to the PTOs, for example, most of them, PTO, booster clubs, Orange and Black Pack, all of them. They kind of do the same thing every year, pretty much. And so they had an idea. But on here, we made them give us a time frame because we needed to present it to you guys only twice a year. Normally, these kind of things, like I said, would go through and we said, you can't do it until it's been through building approval and district approval. But as soon as district approved it, they could roll with it.
They could submit it in a week ahead of time.
Yeah,
But is what the big change was, you guys asked for an approval process, so we had to go to all of them and say. We have to know ahead of time, everything between, for the fall semester, we gotta know about now so that we can get your approval. Our understanding was your direction for us was to do that.
Well, I think this is way beyond our, I mean, I don't know why we're messing with it, to tell you the truth. It's way beyond. I mean, it's not something this board should even be messing with. We should leave it up to our staff, our principals.
Aware of fundraisers and what's going on, Jeff. That's all this is doing.
Yeah, but you have the right to say no if you don't want to participate in that fundraiser. I mean, I just don't think it's our deal to be dealing with this stuff. It's up to our billing administrators and our staff in this building to deal with it, not for us.
I agree with Jeff that the vote has been passed, and so this is what the board voted, and this is what the district's been told they have
And
to
this is
do.
the same information, but this is the same information that she's always gotten.
Yeah, it just feels
Well, I've
like.
been on this board 31 years and I've never seen a list like that.
Because we
so
trust.
31 years I've been on here and that's what, I've never seen a list like that.
Right, I'm saying, this was around last year. I seen it last year's list.
You've seen more than I've seen, so.
Is that not right, Jackie?
you asked if you could see it.
Right, and this is the same information you collect all the time.
Correct.
We just asked as a board to come to us so we could see it before, and I think it's wise that the board knows what fundraisers are going on through the school year. That's the only intent of this altogether.
Well, it's fine that we're notified of it, but I hope we don't pick out each individual one and approve them on a municipal basis. I hope that if the building administration has approved it and that was good enough before, then I would hope that that would still apply to our school board as it's presented to us.
And to show that's not the intent, as I moved, we approve all the fundraisers listed for the fall school year.
Can I?
26.
Alright.
We'll take another. That's the motion.
And then we second it, and then we can have
Then
discussion.
we have
A
discussion.
second,
There's a
and then
second, then we have
no
discussion.
So now you have the floor.
So
Yeah, we can discuss
Okay.
that.
And I just wrote this out and I've thought about this quite a bit. So I'm just gonna read what I wrote. While I support and commend the fundraising efforts of the drama department and recognize the exceptional talent in the students' performances. I love theater and I enjoy it immensely. There is one fundraiser on the list that I am uncomfortable supporting, and that is the haunted house. I recognize that it is all acting, fake, and no one gets hurt, but I'm not sure it aligns with the goals of promoting a positive, violence-free environment. We take alleged threats, acts of violence very seriously in the district, and even though the actions being portrayed in this event are not real, it is quite graphic, and the acts being depicted can potentially stay in students' minds. With the increased amount of school violence over the years in our nation, I think it's worth thinking about and discussing. And that is why I will potentially have to vote no to approve fundraising.
I'd agree. I think that, we have white links that tries to combat that, and we sit here and other times every week. I don't really feel that lines up with our goal.
I just think that throwing a haunted house into this is. I mean, when I was in college, we used to go to Kansas City down on Grand Avenue and just line up and go to haunted house after haunted house. I think it.
High school sponsored.
I don't know, I didn't so into it and that, so maybe it's just the way you're raised, Halloween is about kids and about having fun. And haunted houses when you're a kid are fun. That's how I look at it, so. We all have different thoughts and opinions, but I see no problem with haunted houses and in the aspect of being for kids and being for fun.
And I understand that, but I just ask that you respect my opinion
Oh, I do,
and
I do,
also.
I completely do. So. Do we have a second on the motion?
I second it.
So any other discussion? Accepted? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 4-3. All right. You know, it's a good time again is that, is that I don't expect and don't want every vote to be 4-3. I want everybody to, you have that right. You were elected on the board to vote how you want to vote. And it's just all the same thing. Once decisions are made, we move on and all move in a direction, do what's best. So I do. My main thing, this is everybody does get a chance to express their opinions and vote how they do, and then we move on. So I appreciate the differences. All right, where are we at?
Capacity recommended.
So we're all through down with that, right? Capacities now. Okay, so with capacities, would you state that?
Yeah, this came with the new statute a few years ago, the non-resident enrollment capacity, and so we have to set these annually. They did make a change to the law last year. The first year they narrowed us to June 1st to June 30th only. And so that was just not operationally feasible. And so they did open that application window. It's open now. And we have to set our capacity guidelines. And so just as a reminder, our capacity, our enrollment projections include current out of district enrolled students because they do not have to apply again once they're accepted. They don't have to apply again and they're allowed to enroll unless they fall out of good standing. So our current out of district are included in our projections. And then the capacity basically meets these measurements. That's what we would open seats for. And we cannot award or tell any families that they are accepted until June 30th, after June 30th.
By
Because
July 15th.
if you would hit a capacity, then you have to do a lottery. And so that's a change for some of our new families. So if you hear from new families that are applying, they're welcome to apply, but we can't give them an official yes or no until after June 30th, by July 15th. Yeah, and so August helps manage that process. The principals, they fill out the form. All in-district families have to fill it out every year. And so kind of a technicality, but just wanted to make sure you guys understood.
If you're talking to people, USD379.org/enroll has absolutely everything from school supply list to calendars to physical forms, free and reduced, everything. But the top one right here is the out of district form and then the in district one. And whatever you approve, or when you approve those numbers, we have to post it right here as well. So there's a kindergarten health form, immunization, fees, food service, bus routes, handbooks.
Were we anywhere close to what we said last year?
Let me pull it.
Off the cuff, I don't believe so. Maybe one grade at Wakefield. We were close, super close.
Oh,
So if we had a class of 23 kindergartners, and does each kindergarten class have a class aide or full-time para in each room? So you'd have 2 adults for 23 kids?
It just depends. Like at Wakefield, when we hit the higher number, we added an aide. Or if, generally speaking, if we get that higher number in a really early grade, we look at other options, but we don't have a dead set, this number equals this many, if that makes sense.
The only room we have to do that is preschool. You have to be at once you hit the 10th kid, or sorry, after the 10th kid, you have to have 2 adults in there at all times.
we supposed to approve this today?
What's
Should
our-
have to have it approved by May first.
So I have a question, but it's related to things that we would cover in exec, so I don't know how I'd present it currently.
Just ask if we can go into an exec session to, as long as it meets a qualifying. And then we could go into exec session, right, Dusty?
Yeah.
I mean, I think probably we need 5 minutes.
That's fine. I mean, I would just make sure it's a qualifying event. Is it personnel or,
It's related to personnel, yeah,
okay, so,
the personnel changes that are,
Non-elected personnel.
okay,
so you could,
yeah, that wording
You're gonna go into executive session.
For how long?
for 5 minutes. To discuss non-elected personnel.
7:50 to 7:55.
We need to go.
we need.
Second.
Motion carries 17.
I know, I'm sorry.
Are we quick?
I'll talk.
We'll use the place.
Is that hard?
No.
Oh, I have a second. You think it's warm? I think it's warm. High five.
It's chilly.
Goes along with hot, I'm cold, it goes along with cold.
My feet are freezing.
What?
My feet are freezing.
Just, you and Brad are sitting next to each other. I think when it blows. Right there.
Okay, so I'm
on, just so you all know. All right. We're just talking about the air conditioning.
They're good.
What?
Chocolate
The what?
with caramel?
Ooh. I'll take some. They make it. Not your. It's another kind of.
Minty? Ginger minty?
Junior. Yes. But they're the Easter ones and there's more chocolate to mint. And for my daughter. That's. Oh, that's what I. Coconut. Oh, I had a favorite sweet. I had the. Chase it down. I was like, I bought the coconut bag. I bought the individual. That's good, ice cream. The peppermint, yeah. And then I got the variety box, but I had the variety, individual ones. But we got the variety that got the mint chocolate. And then chocolate peanut butter, chocolate vanilla, coconut, just the basic, do the coconut and protein balls. I made protein balls with the coconut flakes. Did you put the coconut flakes in it? No, I just put the coconut simply. What else do you put in? Peanut butter, oatmeal. Chocolate chips. I think I put a little bit of honey, but I put that, I added a little bit more liquid. Powder was dry, but every bite you took, it's like you had coconut. It was so strong. That's what I put in my. I got it for creamy. That's what I did. We just had. So I used chocolate, the chocolate milk, basically. The coconut. And then when I did my mix-ins, I mixed in flake coconut, coconut flakes, and then chopped up. Nuts. Yeah, well, that's my favorite one at, Freddy's was the chocolate. Then you get frozen yogurt with those two things mixed chocolate almonds and then coconut. They don't. Coconut and they don't have. I know, so. But I make my own egg. What's so good.
It's from. I got a spider bite from. That's with the camper underneath in the rocks.
It's all right.
In the back and you're putting the stairs onto the decking.
You're talking
With a spider.
Yeah. Minute or seconds.
Barely. One I knew you would have. It needs to go this way. Okay, there you go.
Good timing.
And we'll resume the regular meeting now. And I move to approve the recommended resident capacity and those presented. Second. In a second, all those in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
But I would say that's all clear, right? Might have called executive session. Well, I could say that out loud.
Okay. That gets us, so next meeting, we'll learn more budget wise where we're at. And then start to move that way, and before the next meeting, we'll have that special meeting, and that'll really help us with capital outlay and the bond deal that we need to get started on that and designate that, so. If you have something else you want to discuss or whatever, feel free, email me or whatever, and we will get that done. I would reserve right on that special meeting if a personnel thing comes up last time, we were able to add that if something like that.
Just has to be on the agenda when we publish.
Yeah, so
6 to 8.
What's that?
6 to 8.
Yeah, 6 to 8, so. But you know, with where we're at, if a personnel thing comes up and we can get it solved or whatever, it's always good. It's always good to do that, even though this time it was late, I guess. All right, with that. Is that, let's see, executive session here, is that, so, is that I move we go into executive session and discuss items included in the CCD negotiations letter pursuant to the negotiations exception with Taylor Bank. And that the open meeting shall resume at 8:05. In the boardroom, the executive session should include the board superintendent and council. Second. Motion second, all those in favor? Carry 7.
I have like one.
Great. Hi, Katie.
Usually I'm still. I put them out. You can pick them out.
They stay.
Yeah. Oh, dear. We don't want to only 2 rows, 3's fine.
You guys, it's good. If I don't have myself, I'm going to, but if there's 3, that's fine. We can hold. Speaking of chocolate. We can chocolate what? What?
You wanted more time?
Okay, we'll resume the regular meeting. And, six is that, I move we add.
Wait, make sure do you still want it?
No, I don't get it.
Okay, okay. All right, so now we'll go to, I move we go into executive session to discuss private student matters.
No, not elected person.
You can do both. Or we're gonna do both eventually.
Yeah, we're gonna do both anyway, so. I move we go into executive session to discuss private student matters pursuant to the student exception under KOMA, that the open meeting shall resume at 8:22. The executive session should include the board superintendent and council. Second, all those in favor? Motion carries 7-2.
Yeah, I guess,
Before you leave, I need your signature.
Oh, I had that wrote down to ask you, but I didn't print it. I was gonna make sure you had.
Yeah, I always print it. And then I uploaded it too.
So that first was.
Six on Thursday. $96 on Thursday. And happens on Friday. Where's the Thursday? Okay. Easter Sunday, 59. 78% chance of rain. Oh, shoot. He's right. I thought 224 Easter eggs in the big bundle. You do those indoors. Sure. Golly, are you kidding? Just give him up, they can have another chance. Oh, please, first, come on, be able to. Come on. Shoot. It's Kansas, I can change. This is in Clay County, Florida. It's goats. It's for the kids with disabilities. It's where they're there. They show their goats. The music that was there really good too.
I guess we got a couple of those.
Fourteen. Thank you very much.
When we log on to the new one, do we use our same password?
No, it'll have you set up. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying it out.
I'm very sorry. You're gonna, no, I'm okay. Well, you.
You can try.
They're both.
I totally get it lately.
I'm She's got it.
They just have something inside.
Yeah.
It's tasty.
Okay. Is that?
I know.
Does not have a job. Go ahead. Up and down there, it was there.
Okay, we're resuming the regular meeting this time. And then, I move we go into executive session to discuss staff pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception or KLMA. That the open meeting shall resume at 8:32. In the order of the executive session should include the board superintendent and council.
Second.
A second, all those in favor? Carried.
Oh, I didn't get them all. That's not fun, that's the good one.
Yeah, what I'm
Oh,
talking
shoot.
about.
You gotta get the gold one for Carl.
Oh, shoot, I didn't do that. That's the blue.
Was that one just plain?
That was just blue, yeah, milk chocolate. Mm. Oh, there's a bottom. Wonder what time they are. I'm sure they'll.
This person gets the mask.
Did you check out the weather for Sunday, August?
No. Ah,
All
really?
day. Mhm. Had a good day for an extra honey.
Thursday, I thought it was supposed to be like 90 something
Thursday.
in Minneapolis.
You where?
Minneapolis.
Ooh. Oh, down.
So I'm gonna need some sunscreen.
When you see the, big stadium seats. It's because of me and Darcy.
No,
They were not handicap accessible when she went there. Little bit of. Got that. Very nice.
I'll have to check them out.
Mhm.
What's their mascot?
Lions,
What colors?
red and blue. I was fortunate to have a teacher. When I was in school. Who taught my kids. Who was still there when I was a para and who I taught with when I went back into teaching.
Oh,
Same lady.
she alive?
She died of cancer. Wonderful lady. That's junior high, right? Junior high?
Yeah, seventh grade.
Or Manhattan plays in. They said Topeka, but it's on Friday, like Good Friday. That's when their track meet is. My son had twin calves born today. I didn't put their little. I cleaned them. This morning when I got here. It's dead flowers out.
Oh, yeah, they were looking good.
They were, and there were some dandelions growing in there, so I pulled all that out. There's some greenery, but you know, they came, those were those wildflowers we
Yes.
gave Paris a couple years ago, and they came back last year. In the back. And I don't know, late, they came back late, so I'm not really sure if they'll come back, but I tried to take the dead flowers and. Shake them so any seeds could kind of get down there. I didn't get everything, there's still some. I have to just get some flowers to put there and let it be kind of pretty. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Are those yours? Oh, my goodness.
That's funny.
What is the male, what are
Male, female, Samson sausage.
He's a little bigger.
And his hers are bigger.
Rounder.
And hers are.
He's got a little thicker face.
And he's got chubbier. Have to see.
Not concerned, I'm just listening. Oh, they're like twins. Yeah. So a lot of stuff.
That's what you did?
Outside the restaurant.
It isn't.
It's a cat, it's the bowl that sits outside of the bowl.
Oh, that's where you went?
Huh.
Oh, I didn't know there was one. That's since it became,
Yes.
was it Munson's or?
My husband instigated it. So,
They were going to Kansas City, right, Sunday?
I don't know where they went.
I thought Kansas City.
They just sent a text and said they were like, yeah. Yeah,
Oh, that was awesome. She didn't say, it was that Saturday night?
it was last Sunday. Like, oh, last Sunday, but Sunday before. We,
Well, I took their card. We had a copy of it. Her card, and she said, "You getting cards in the mail?"
did you know what I told her?
After, she said, "We've been getting cards in the mail." And she said, I told them we didn't want anything done. And I looked on social media and I didn't see it. I'm like, well, you wouldn't. It said private events or private. One of my kids, I'm like, I think it was.
We didn't do anything. I just told all the other people.
I have not eaten there since, Wes, that's not.
Steaks were
It's,
really good.
I've not since they bought it. I had it when it was still, I ate there when it was.
But to be able to
just-
get the steaks, that was really good.
Yeah, I've not eaten there since then. Are they open all the time?
I ate quite a bit.
Oh, what a great picture.
And so then I went and
Oh,
got
what's that?
it's the log.
Oh, yeah.
From Sam and the mermaid cupcakes.
Cool. Oh, what a great picture.
Yeah. So then I posted on Saturday and Friday. Anniversary.
Saturday, because that's when we had coffee.
And so I, yeah, Saturday I texted her. And see if they understand it. She's like, we don't.
Well, then we're happy birthday and we said, so can you? I got, here's. Walter, how do you know? Aaron said,
You robbed the cradle, it's fine. Why was it open at everybody?
Where's, is that on? I have, you know, I drive by there, but maybe it's far enough from the road, you don't see it. I've never noticed. Is it Munson?
It's Munson, and now it's called Legacy Kansas. And Munson Steaks and then, the chicken, but they still do famous style dining. So you get the corn and you get the biscuits and the. Small relishes and stuff.
Did you reserve anything or did you just show?
We have reservations.
You know, it's just neat to go there because we've not had connections.
Steaks are really good, owners really good. I got the plate, so. No, I didn't bring it. Ordered a ribeye. Yeah. They got the ribeye and it was. Huge. It's. My neighbor, I don't know if he went out there, but they were talking, there was a truck out of the tractor. Only ribeyes. Like. With the home with the look. You can see that. I didn't see it. I don't know that I buy steaks for that much.
The meat truck at the Tractor's Club parking.
But a full discount on ribeyes.
I can't remember the name of the, I mean, it was like a.
There's always something. I never know about it.
Chick-fil-A on Wednesday.
Yeah, there's food trucks and animal sales.
Saturday animal sales.
Maybe it's something.
Yeah, for puppies, the chickens.
Tractor's Club parking lot every weekend.
He had my anti-Facebook friend.
Oh, you're calling me that?
Yes.
Okay.
That should be gone.
I hear him.
Oh.
Yeah, yep, got it. Got it without counting, huh?
You want to roll then.
Get a job and stay, you didn't talk to.
No happy meeting.
What's that thermostat set at?
70.
Oh, it is.
If there's any extra money in the budget ever, he needs his own thermostat.
Personal.
Correct.
How about just a
It does
cooling
not
vest?
agree with the renter.
Okay, we'll resume the regular meeting this time. Next one is approval of the personnel report. So I moved to approve the personnel report as presented. Second, all those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. And I move to adjourn the meeting.
Oh, wait. One more.
Got a certified staff.
Oh, we got certified staff.
Fire all certified staff.
Oh, mine didn't print out.
I would have really shook them up.
Got it sorted.
The certified staff renewals for the 2025-2026.
So many.
Second.
And move what she said.
Second. All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Yeah.
Move to adjourn.
Now, motion adjourned. Second, all those in favor?